The clang of iron bars cracked through the sheriff's station like a rifle shot. At first, it was just another dusty night in a southern town. The hum of neon, the sheriff nursing cheap whiskey. But then headlights cut through the dark, dozens of them. The sound of boots on concrete grew louder. Something was coming. Something the sheriff never expected. By morning, his world would collapse. The man in the cell looked ordinary. Late 50s, oil-stained coveralls from the auto shop, hair salted with gray. To the deputies, he was nothing more than a tired black mechanic who mouthed off during a traffic stop. But the way he sat, back straight, eyes calm, hinted at something else. He carried himself like a man who had seen storms far worse than this. The sheriff didn't notice. The deputies didn't care. To them, he was invisible. Sheriff Collins leaned against the bars, sneering. "Boy, you think you're special?" One deputy tossed his license onto the desk. "Nobody's coming for you." The air smelled of stale tobacco and arrogance. The deputies laughed, boots tapping the floor. The prisoner stayed silent. That silence only provoked them. Finally, he spoke. "Be careful how you treat men whose stories you don't know." Collins barked a laugh. "What stories? You're nobody." But outside, headlights kept gathering. The doors burst open. Soldiers in uniform filed in, insignias catching the fluorescent light. Their boots struck in perfect unison. A colonel stepped forward. "Where is Sergeant Major Elijah Carter?" The sheriff froze. "Who?" The colonel's eyes locked on the man in the cell. His voice shifted, reverent. "Sergeant Major, the Pentagon has been searching for you." The room turned still. Soldiers snapped to salute. The deputies gawked. The sheriff's face drained of color. Elijah Carter rose slowly, his presence filling the room. Once, he had led Marines through 2 wars. Purple Heart, Bronze Star, medals earned in fire and blood. He had carried wounded men through enemy fire, trained generations of fighters, and stood unshaken where others fell. But he had returned home quiet, retreating to an auto shop, living in peace. He never asked for recognition. "Why didn't you say anything?" A deputy whispered. Carter's reply was steady. "A man's worth doesn't come from medals. But dignity should never be stripped away." The colonel bowed his head. The Corps never forgets its own. 6. Transformation and recognition, 10%. The sheriff stammered. I didn't know." "You didn't care to know," Carter answered. The cell opened. The man who entered as nobody walked out as a legend. Soldiers saluted. Deputies lowered their eyes in shame. Even Collins muttered a hollow apology. Carter only nodded. Respect from his brothers in arms was enough. As dawn broke, he returned to his quiet shop. But the town no longer saw just a mechanic. They saw a hidden hero, a man carved by sacrifice and courage. Heroes don't always wear uniforms. Sometimes, they sit quietly among us, waiting to be remembered. If this story touched you, share it with someone who needs reminding that true worth isn't always visible. Subscribe to our community, where we honor hidden heroes living among us. Because respect costs nothing, but it means everything.